Hair grows on my steel chip.
All right, we are live recording. Morning, everybody.
Morning, everybody.
December 6th, and we are going to be going over some contracts with Mr. Gary Rasha. So, Gary, take it away.
I will. You got
a little on your stash. Just every
my dog when I need it. Welcome, everybody, to the after breakfast webinar. It wasn't sloppy at all. All right, you're going to learn all kinds of stuff today. Some of it by accident, some of it on purpose. Logging in, no, or not, we will. I promise. How's everybody getting along with the news up Form Plus or whatever they call it?
It's not too bad.
Wait, who did the raspberry?
Who else?
Those of you who couldn't see it. Buddy. Can do it, buddy. What's the matter with it while I wait for it to boot up? Does it slow boot up?
Yeah. I just hate the way that front page comes out. It's like, John, which food back
This one?
I did.
Yeah, Linda did. We ate it in front of them. Wasn't much else we could do. Speaking of that, sorry. We're the toothpicks. You get paid commissions before you close, but you kind of have to have an escrow that turns out to be the thing. So we're going to do a little. So is this the page you go to?
no, I have another one that comes up.
Yeah. So you can defeat that.
Good.
Go into your settings and tell it, show me my transactions first.
We're having that next week.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
Templates workshop.
Template lady.
There you go. See, next week. We're going to do all that fun stuff.
We'll make that face.
Probably new, like our usual training time.
What time? What day?
Thursday. Thursday the 14th.
Usually Wednesday.
Thursday the
You're going to use
14th.
mine as a guinea pig. So.
Thursday the 14th at 7:38.
I'll be here.
So today we're going to talk about disclosures because we were gonna last week and we didn't get there. I don't know why. So I'm in my transactions. Going to make a new one. We call it purchase. $2. Time flies when you're having fun. Oh, sorry. Residential. So speaking of the little advanced template training, maybe I'm creating a new transaction, see where I can actually apply a template during the creation of this transaction. I don't have to.
You call that advance.
Right? No, in advance of your future training. So I'm in my new transaction I just created and I don't have any templates, so I'll just go get one. How handy. Template name disclosures, full disclosure. The template was applied successfully. I don't want the way it's sorted. Change that. Alphabetical. And I don't know why when you change it to alphabetical, anything that says residential comes up first, everything else is alphabetized. That is different now. It's a special alphabet used only for realtor. All right, so the seller's got a lot of disclosures to do. You got some. I wonder if that's even in here. Yep, it is. And who knows? Star will come in the mail eventually later. What paragraph in the residential purchase agreement helps you know which disclosures the seller has to do? Noah?
31. 26?
Noah's not there?
17?
10. Remember?
No, obviously not.
Dave, do you know? What?
You just said it.
Yeah, right? You never forget what the heck you're supposed to be doing.
Where is Noah? Is he on?
Noah?
There he is.
Yep, I'm on.
All right, slacker. Are you sick? Are you dead? You should be dead. Just saying, not showing up, Tom. There it is. Oops, slow down. Paragraph 10, statutory and other disclosures include lead-based paint hazard disclosures and cancellation rights. So you ever forget what the heck you're supposed to be doing, or when you're supposed to be doing it, or why you're supposed to be doing it, or how you're supposed to be doing it? Paragraph 10. The other purchase agreements have it in there. It's probably a different number. Sure, my farm. What if I go back? I'll just go back to the forms. All right. So, what do you think the most common seller disclosures are in just about every transaction? Don't worry about exemptions or any of that junk yet.
TDS, SPQ,
Two main ones, TDS, SPQ, right? Anybody know what TDS stands for?
transfer disclosure statement.
Transfer disclosure statement.
Better late than pregnant.
SPQ. How about SPQ there, Slacker? I mean, Kenzie.
I know it.
Who's making the disclosure?
Seller.
That's the S.
Seller disclosure.
What's he disclosing about?
No. Property?
Property, yeah. Thanks for whispering. What do you think he's answering on there? Maybe some.
Oh, like the things that are wrong with it?
Yeah. What are they questions?
His one.
Solar property questionnaire.
What he knows about.
See, that name makes sense, right? Real property transfer disclosure statement, like that makes sense. Solar property questionnaire makes perfect sense. There's another form that's that we use for exempt sellers, and sometimes sellers are exempt from certain disclosures in certain situations. Depending who you talk to, I have an exempt seller the other day whose attorney told me, I don't like that. He goes, make them do everything. That just made their day. I already told them we weren't doing it. I had to take it back, and I unfortunately had John Ronca blame us. But for exempt sellers, there's another disclosure, and what's the name of it? Just want to teach you guys know everything.
Seller disclosure.
Exempt seller disclosure for exempt sellers when they have to disclose. See how these things all work together to make
My
sense.
stars that will never come.
And the exempt, there's another chance for a star that will never come. The exempt seller disclosure is actually page 1 of what other disclosure? Anybody? We were just talking about it.
Anybody but me? Seller disclosure.
The seller disclosure, yeah. Well played. I don't think you get double jeopardy for that. No points, no money, no nothing. You're not coming back tomorrow. The seller property questionnaire has some questions about that on the front, which are exactly the same as the ones in the exempt seller disclosure. And the boys were smart enough to get that. Didn't we do that? Yes. Doesn't count. Do it again. All right. We have to. For a little guys. Good job, everybody. So let's just go through those. We'll start with the transfer disclosure statement. Didn't say real. Real estate transfer disclosure statement. Here we go. It's kind of important right there, the date. So what's an easy way to get that date in there? Nah, because you could do a snapshot in time with a date, but then when you do a deal next year and use this template, it'll have last year's date on it, so that probably wouldn't be the best use of that.
Cover sheet?
No, a cover sheet won't auto-pop dates. It will, a couple, but not.
Matrix.
Pardon?
Matrix?
Matrix? No, when you're using digital signatures. Just put a date field right up there, and then when the guy clicks his signature, all the dates will, in DocuSign, all the dates will show up. So they just date it right there. I have them do the SELM, withhold from the MLS form and stuff like that. I just put a matching date. I put a signature block date on there, and when they sign it up, that's the date that it is.
I just put the date that I gave him to fill out.
You could just put the date you gave it to them and fill out. Now, yeah, so that's a good point. That right after I said that, I thought, okay, maybe not the greatest thing in the world to do with a transfer disclosure statement. Usually that doesn't get digitally signed, but it can.
True.
And the reason it can is in the latest versions of zip forms and DocuSign, and I'm supposing digital ink too, all these little check boxes here, they're all active. You can actually check them with the mouse, fill in the whole thing digitally. The problem I've had with that is once they fill it digitally, they probably need to save it as a PDF or something to lock it, because when it comes back, my experience with them, I haven't been doing it lately. My previous experience with these forms, when they came back, they weren't locked. You could go in there and go, that's not right. And just change the check boxes. So that's no good. But anyway, you can. We have the technology where these can be digitally signed and filled in. So page 1, in the middle there, coordination with other disclosure forms. You'll see a couple little, oh, where's my little big nobody say anything.
It's too easy. It's too easy. Yeah, it's too easy to know.
Even I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Jan? Who's the cat? Right there. 2 little check boxes, right? One of them says inspection reports completed pursuant to the contract of sale or receipt for deposit. Wow, that is some really old language. And additional inspection reports or disclosures. The seller's going to make a disclosure here with a transfer disclosure statement. So maybe they want to disclose some other report they had. Maybe they had a geologic report because the house is on a hillside or something, and people are worried about stability. Maybe the next door house fell down, or who knows what. So they can attach reports to this and make them part of the transfer disclosure statement, if so desired. So they've got some really old language right there. We haven't called the purchase contract the deposit receipt for probably 20 years, mostly because we don't receive deposits anymore. Does anybody know why there might be some old leftover language in the real estate transfer disclosure statement? Kristen? Noah?
They're lazy on changing it.
Who changes it? You're getting there.
Car legal.
Pardon?
The lawyers at Car.
Nope. That's why this form lags. It's state of California. That's a codified form. And we have some codified forms. Does anybody know what that means? I just think it's a bitching word. This form is actually the way this form has to be presented and used and everything is codified. It's part of California Civil Code section. I think it's 1102. The agency disclosure is 2079. This is 1102. Smoke detector, water heater, those are codified forms. We can't change them. Only the state of California can change them. Look at it. It's like talking to a little robot. There's like I should take a picture of the camera and FaceTime. Anyway, state of California created a bunch of the forms that we use, and we can't change them. Only they can change it. So when something changes in the law, like the carbon monoxide detector thing came along in 2013, so CAR talks to the state of California about, hey, can we roll the carbon monoxide detector language into the transfer disclosure statement? And about a year later, the state goes, yeah, here. So everything lags. That apparently nobody's caught that receipt for deposit thing. Of course, transfer disclosure statement being a legally required codified form where you can't change the format, or you got to do it their way. It's for every real estate, well, when do you have to use this form? And don't worry about exempt sellers and stuff. When I'm selling what, does this form legally have to be in there? What kind of property?
Real property?
Real property, right. Residential property that's improved with 1 to 4 dwelling units. So basically houses, duplexes, stuff like that. Yeah, not commercial stuff. This isn't set up for that. So it's legally required in every transaction like that in the state of California, which may or may not have CAR forms in it, right? So maybe somebody is using a thing called a receipt for deposit that they got off of We Help You Legal and something. that might be why that's still hanging around.
We took deposits with CCA.
Pardon?
We took deposits. with
But your
CCA.
contract, did you have your own contracts?
Yeah.
Not see, yeah, so you might have had deposit receipts, yeah. Yeah, we used to, back when they were legal size and all that junk 25 years ago, we called them deposit receipts. Did you get that kind of signed deposit receipt? What happened later was people would sign an offer, right? You've heard this one. And agents would always put in there, like, received from Bill and Betty Buyer, $5,000. And it says right there, received from, people came back to get it every once in a while. We didn't have it yet.
Yeah.
And they got it.
Ooh.
We got over that right after. Like, oh, wait, no, we didn't. No, there is no receipt. In fact, we're just, never mind, get out of here, take them to escrow. And that law took 20 years. That was a little problem. So we can add other disclosures. And then here where it says seller's information, the seller discloses the following information with the knowledge that even though this is not a warranty, prospective buyers may rely on this information. So, like, don't make it up. And that's why some sellers are exempt. Like, you have a trustee in Michigan and the house is in Napomo and they've never been there ever. I had a guy sell a place in, I think it was in Napomo, and he wound up inheriting it through enough people dying. He was in Canada. He wasn't even an American. I have no idea how the hell you guys do that stuff. But he was Canadian, so he was automatically smart.
Oh, yeah.
Pardon?
Yeah.
So you didn't know anything. You'd never been to the house. And then, so can I help him with that? Can I tell him, hey, here's what you got in the house?
No.
Nope. Nope. Don't do it. I mean, help them with, don't forget to fill out this part. You know, you left a bunch of blanks there. You sure none of that stuff is in your house? And part of that, as we'll see going forward, well, we'll just wait till we go forward. So there's a big list there. They finally fixed the list. In fact, I'm not going to tell you that story because they just keep plowing old ground. So what the seller needs to understand is right above all that stuff where it says, the gap. Seller is or is not occupying the home. So a lot of people say, well, they haven't lived there, so they don't have to do that. Yeah, they do. Why would that check box be there if they didn't have to do it, right?
Always is that.
Right. And nobody ever checks that. So, and you'd think they'd make a default, right? But it doesn't say seller is, like, or check if not, like.
Okay,
the
so,
forms people
I'm
do.
sorry, if they haven't lived in it, it doesn't, their obligation still to check the other boxes and know what there is in the house?
Generally, yes, there are some exemptions to this form, but if they're filling out this form, yeah, they don't have to have ever lived in it. Now, how the heck are they gonna know? I don't like when they sell rentals, like you sell a rental house, you own a rental house, you sell it, you have to do one of these. So hopefully you were there at least when you bought it, you know, or you might want to go look. I mean, the seller might want to go look. You have to go look. Let's say you're the listing agent, you have to go look, and we'll get to your disclosure in a minute. So you gotta check all those boxes. So you check all those boxes, and then there's a follow-up question, right? Right there. Are there, to the best of seller's knowledge? So to the best of your knowledge, not a guarantee, not a warranty, but like as far as you know, and most of these forms are you aware, to the best of your knowledge, that kind of thing. It's like, if you don't know, no is okay. It's pretty much what these forms are. To the best of your sellers, thanks for that, knowledge, who else would they be talking to? Any of the above that aren't working. So after we tell them they got to fill this whole thing out and check all the boxes and all that stuff, and they go, well, is this like a warranty? Are we guaranteeing the stuff's going to work? No. Just check if it's there or not. And then they get down to that question. They go, hey, wait a minute. Now I have to tell them whether they're working or not. Yeah, but that's all we're telling them. They can buy it with all this junk broken. It's okay if they want to. So go ahead. Don't fib and don't give yourself a whole lot of leeway, Mr. Seller. If it's broken, just say it's broken. It's better to tell them now, better to know us now, or whatever it is. Better to tell them now and not, 4 weeks later have it be a problem, or a year after the escrow closes. They find out something that you should have said. Just say, when in doubt, disclose was the best advice I ever got regarding all this kind of stuff. So, okay. And if yes, which is very common for all disclosure forms, every time they check a yes box, they have to explain the yes. If yes, then describe. Attach additional sheets if you're incredibly verbose. That whole thing was A, right? And then it says, are you seller aware? So do you know this? Do you know this for a fact? Would you be willing to swear that this is what you know? And if they go, no, I really don't know. Okay, no is okay. Right? Aware of any significant defects, malfunctions in any of the following? Yes, no. If yes, check the box. Walls, ceilings, floors, walls, blah, 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 all kinds of stuff there. And then if you had yes, and you checked the box, we'll just wait.
There you go.
You'll be standing for the rest of the afternoon.
Dean a distraction.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it works. Where was I?
I have a question for you, Gary.
I'm sorry, no questions, Noah. If any of the above is checked, explain. Attach additional sheets. That would have been additional shits. Additional sheets if necessary.
That's what's in
Additional shits if necessary. Like, wait, what are you talking about? Okay, Noah, I'm ready for you now. Time's up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What if the agent knows something about the house that the seller doesn't? Where do you disclose that?
You tell me. You know this one.
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Does the agent make a decision? Yeah, you're talking about the listing agent, right? Let's start with the listing agent. Actually, it doesn't matter. If there's an agent that knows something is wrong with the house, does the agent actually have to do a disclosure?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's a material fact, right?
It's a material fact that would basically change a buyer's mind. So, and David's going to come up here for a minute. But so the agent generally does a disclosure. What's the name of that?
Apple.
The Abbott. Remember?
But isn't that just visual walkthrough?
But you know
It
something.
did just
It's
diligent
material.
visual inspection, and it says right in there. It says,
Material fact.
can't remember. We're going to look at the Abbott in a minute, but it's toward the end. It says, do you know anything else? Like, is there something that you really want to talk about? Tell me now.
Get it off
When in
your
doubt,
conscience.
Okay.
David has something he wants to say about that, but he's incredibly busy, so he's going to get back to you all on that because he was shaking his head no back.
You don't have to use the Abbott, but you do have to disclose.
Oh, okay, right, yeah. So the agent does have a disclosure obligation. Are you legally required to use the form? No. That's why these other agents, when you have a listing, and well, you're in a transaction, doesn't matter which side of the sign, you're going to get agents, mostly from Santa Maria and Bakersfield, and say, we don't do the Abbott form. They don't have to, but they can't leave that freaking thing blank. That's against the law, which I always like rubbing their face in the law.
If they're in Bakersfield, can't they just write on the contract whatever they want to?
Yeah, that's pretty much what they do. It's like, oh man, that's the wrong price and everything. Damn it, you stupid coastal labor.
They have a box of crayons they can.
Yeah. Easy.
Hey, all you guys that work in the Hubbell Bakersfield office, you're awesome. Okay, just
Hello, Melissa.
nobody's like, we love you, man. Okay.
Just
I
in there.
used to have a broker from Bakersfield, and she just did it their way. Anyway, right? So we're just going to say sometimes agents will want to have that chat with you. We don't do have. It's like, all right, fine, do it. I don't care. Suck. I don't care.
Yeah.
Be stupid. Knock yourself out. It ain't my day to watch it. Unless it's somebody in here, then yeah, it is. But they don't have to use that form, but they do have to, and we'll get to that in a minute, they do have to disclose like what they know. Now this incredibly long paragraph there, that's where the carbon monoxide detector and a bunch of junk like that come up. And then, and that's the rest of B. I think they, did they put that in there? Yeah, water conserving plumbing fixtures is in there. Now, the state of California catches up really fast when like they make a law, then they just change the TDS pretty much right then as part of the law. So that was a state law that, on and after January 1st, 2014, single-family residence built on or before January 1st, 1994, that is altered or improved is required to be equipped with water-conserving plumbing fixtures, blah, blah, blah. So apparently they're not, they haven't caught up yet with the new law that says, I don't care if you're working on it or not. The entire state of California is now low flow. But all the old exemptions apply, and that exemption right there applies. Single-family residence built on or before January 1st, 94, you got to swap them out if they haven't been swapped out already. Faucets, toilets, shower heads, all that junk. After 94, the code was low flow, so we're cool. So You can figure out when the house was built. Yeah, and of course, the stuff that's that old, that house is what, 23 years old now? Somebody broke that toilet once already, so there's at least a 1.6 in there. In fact, let's just talk about that for a second. When you have to swap out a toilet, if you're in a situation where somebody's got to swap out a toilet, they have 3.2 or whatever they used to be 5 gallon a minute flush toilets, or 5 gallons per flush, whatever the hell. Lots and lots and lots of water. Even if they have bricks in the tank to take up space and all that stuff like we used to do. What kind of toilet, what's the, I don't know what you call it, volume, or what's the numbered toilet that goes in there now? Like a 3.2, 1.6, 1.28, 1.2. Every time you change it, you can't put 1.6s in anything anymore. If they have 1.6s in them when you get there, or before somebody that is responsible for deciding whether those are 1.6s gets there, they're okay. They don't make you pull out 1.6s and change it for 1.28s. Everybody kind of clear on that? That was a lot of numbers. You with me? All right, SPQ. 22 in February. Keep calling her Forever 21. 2 months, and we're good. And then here in the middle of the transfer disclosure statement, this is where sellers will tell you, didn't we just do this? It looks an awful lot like the SPQ. And I think the SPQ is a great form, but it took me a while to warm up to it. Like 10 years ago when they started that, I thought, really? We have to? Yeah. But it's expanded and improved, and it's much better now. In fact, the SPQ, I gave you the answer, so you should get this one. So where is the current water conserving plumbing fixtures? Well, 2 places, huh? Addressed in the forms now. It's in the the WCMD water conserving fixtures, carbon monoxide detector form, and also one other form talks about, are you the seller aware of any appliances in your house that aren't low flow? What form is that? That I just named seconds ago.
The questionnaire.
The seller property questionnaire. Talk about wordsmithing. It's a CAR, that's what they do. The attorneys at CAR decide, they check it for legality of content and application and flow and all that stuff and screwed up language. But the wordsmithing is all agents. They took the line, are you aware of non-low flow appliances in your house, and beat that up for months until they were trying to make no mean yes, and then yes meant no. I don't know what they finally even ended up with. I can't remember. But read that line carefully. Your seller might need help reading because we wrote it, so God knows. All this stuff here in C is about permits and other problems with the property, like we talked about on page 1 and about halfway down, partway down page 2 about heaters and are you hooked to the sewer and all that kind of stuff. And here you're talking about is there lead paint? Are there CCNRs? Is there an encroachment? Are you missing some permits? That kind of junk is all on C there. And that's all on them. And they should be able to figure that out. But there again, oh, it's under the little doohickey there. No, it ain't over here. Right in C it says, are you seller aware of any of the following? So if they don't know it, no is okay, right? It's not guarantee or warranty. And then as usual, bottom of page 2 says, if the answer to any of these preceding those 16 before that is yes, explain. Attach additional sheets if necessary. D, the seller certifies the property to close escrow be in compliance with health and safety code by having operable smoke detectors of the right kind, and that the water heater will be braced, anchored, or strapped in place in accordance with applicable law. So the water heater smoke detector is now in the TDS. Section 21 is still going to send you the water heater smoke detector form, and we always talk about pick which hill you're going to die on. Your seller's just going to have to sign both to shut them up. Do we need the other form anymore? No, we do not. Unless...
What? You want me to answer?
Unless somebody else can. When would you have to use the water heater smoke detector form? We don't have to use it with a transfer disclosure statement because it's already in there. But we might have An exempt seller.
If you're exempt from the TDS,
There you go. Yep, an exempt seller, like, yeah, I didn't say it first or anything. Good job, man. And you're awake. Oh my God, because I know webinars can be challenging. It's like, man, there's gotta be something else I can be doing that kind of crap. Yep, so if you have an exempt seller, if you're not using a TDS, the water heater smoke detector law still applies, so we have a form for that. That's when you would use it. Cool. Right here is the most commonly missed seller signature block in any form in the entire CR forms library, because who on God's earth signs at the top of the page? They will miss this every time you get this form signed. So watch out for it. Make sure when you're digitally signing, make sure you get your little blocks up there and make sure they're up there. All right, now we're getting to the real evil in the transaction, the agents. So you'll see these paragraphs don't exactly match. 3 and 4, Roman numerals 3 and 4 there, right? Agent's inspection disclosure. So this is where we're talking about the agent's disclosure obligation. You have to perform a diligent visual inspection. You have to use the Avid, like David said. You do not. You better make a mark on this thing, though. Well, I mean, we're all using the Avid because the Avid is like the most best form ever. Probably just barely above the RCSD, which I really love. The Avid basically just walks you through the house, a little checklist, easiest way to do your diligent visual inspection ever. And then you're tempted to fill in every line to say something about every component. There's like, I don't know, 40 lines on it or something, so it's very helpful. But regardless, the listing agent has to do a visual inspection. So we're going to be checking the box. So you could just check that in your templates. Actually, why that's not checked in mine, I don't know. There's the most dangerous box ever in the world. Never take this box to court. Agent notes no items for disclosure because this house is completely perfect. There are no defects. Ergo, I say nothing.
No.
Approach.
You're
Mr.
gonna get
Poole.
sued. You're gonna get sued.
Right.
You wanna get sued, check
If you're
that.
getting sued, like this is not the box you want to check.
Exactly.
Like if you check that box and you might get sued, find somewhere to hide it.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
They'll find you.
Or they can fill out this little thing, which used to be a lot bigger paragraph. That should be, yeah, so each X overrides the other X. Used to be a lot more room to write there. CAR encourages you to use the Avid, so they give you like 3 lines to write the entire visual inspection. It's not gonna fit, right? So we're gonna use the Avid. Now the listing agent has a further duty, and Noah was kind of maybe going there earlier. And I was saving it till now. So the undersigned, so right in paragraph 3 there, the undersigned would be who?
The agent representing the seller.
The broker representing the seller by associate licensee or broker signature. So yeah, you. So it says you're the listing agent, based on the above inquiry of the seller as to the conditions of the property and based on a reasonably competent and diligent visual inspection, states the following. So you've read the rest of the TDS, according to that, because you have access to it. The buyer's agent doesn't really have access to it until they get it. But you were there from its inception, so it says you have actually read the entire first 2 pages. And further to that, you now know the things that the seller has said, and you may want to embellish or further describe something if you feel it's important. Or you can leave it out because the seller already said it. Everything that gets disclosed to a buyer is you have to disclose this unless otherwise disclosed, generally speaking. So that's why home inspections and all that stuff are so important. All of them work toward the sellers, satisfying the seller's disclosure obligation. Any questions on that little speech? There's a lot in that couple of lines there. So the listing agent is, you're supposed to have read the TDS. And you'll see in paragraph 4 down here, based on a reasonably competent and diligent visual, but reasonably competent. Like, well, I really tried. Diligent visual inspection of the accessible areas of the property states the following. So they didn't read the TDS. They went out and did their Avid, attached to here and go, hey, we did the best we could, you know. Maybe you should wait for the TDS. That's okay. as the buyer's agent, right? So the seller's got to sign up there and down there. And you have to sign in the middle and down there. And then there's initials at the bottom of every page as well. Oh, the timing, that's right. I forgot what the hell I was doing here. So in the CAR purchase contract, the regular residential purchase agreement, the default time for the seller to get this done is how long?
7 days.
7 days. There's a star in the mail for you. Another. Because there never has been, just ask her. Yeah, 7 days. Seller's supposed to deliver this in 7 days. So when should the listing agent get their avid done?
Well, when it goes in escrow, but actually you can do it before that, couldn't you?
After we open the escrow, how many days should the listing agent wait? Yeah. Yep, 7. Why?
You can get this back and work.
Why?
So that there's time for them to make any.
Why? Apparently you're not getting that. Now I'm just rude.
Now.
Because the seller, thanks. Where have you been? The seller has 7 days to get get a whole bunch of stuff done. One of the things they need to get done is a transfer disclosure statement. Anything the seller has to do in that 7 days where the listing agent plays a part is not considered complete or delivered until the listing agent is done. So the seller has 7 days to get this in there. They have not completed. Even if they get it in there on day 1, and then you wait 2 weeks to do your avid, and you're the listing agent, the seller has not delivered the TDS until you finally show up with your avid. The TDS is not delivered until you show up with your avid, and it gets signed up, and it gets sent over to the buyer. Now the complete TDS has been sent, so you gotta get that done. And that's an office thing on whether you can do disclosures ahead of time or not. I never have done that. I want them dated after I open the escrow. You don't have a duty to this. No one has a duty to disclose until there's an escrow, because you only have a duty to disclose in a real property transaction. When you're not in a transaction, you don't have a duty to disclose. I think stale, dated, or predated disclosures are a mistake. That's just me. Lots of people just get everything all signed up at the listing appointment, and they get it all done. It's very common. A lot of people do it. So that's whatever you guys want to do in here is how that's going to go for you. Got Beach? Okay, any questions on the TDS? And that concludes today's lesson. No, none, no, nothing.
Nothing.
So, why do we do the SPQ? Let me ask that better. What triggers the SP? We have to do the SPQ every time there's a what?
TDS.
TDS. Every time it says right in the contract, paragraph 10, if your seller has to do a TDS, then your seller has to do an SPQ. They had a very confusing checkbox in there about 3 years ago. They got rid of it. Seller property questionnaire, many, many questions. Your seller knows the answer to virtually every one of these. They may need some help with the language. Maybe you can help them with that. You can't tell them yes or no or any of that stuff. You can grill them a little bit like, so do you know that? That's what they're asking is, are you aware of that? Do you know that? Your answer to the question is, I know that or I don't know that. It's not exactly a definitive yes or no, that condition exists. Are you aware of that condition? And there's everything from pets wetting the carpet to meth labs in this farm. Livestock odors, blah, blah. You'll see a lot of overlap. The SPQ, the TDS, everything else in the transaction, there's a little overlap. And generally in California, redundancy is our friend. You can check and make sure they match. If the TDS says yes and the SPQ says no, you might want to ask them why that is. And
Leave any of them blank.
right, thank you for reading my mind. Just like the TDS has to be completed and delivered in a certain manner, none of the seller's disclosures are considered by the purchase contract completed and delivered if any of the check boxes are blank. And you're going to run into that right there. Paragraph I, condominiums, common interest developments, and other subdivisions. Everybody that's not in a condo skips that.
Leaves it out.
they can't leave it out, or they're in breach of contract of all the craziness in the world. But it's like, so the answer to every one of those is no, because we're not even in that yet. Well, okay, make a check. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. All right, cool. So we know when we have to do that, and we know why. Oh, and just so we're aware, there are two transfer disclosure statements. There's the real estate transfer disclosure statement and the manufactured home and mobile home transfer disclosure statement. Pardon?
I said, don't.
Well, I didn't ask, so you didn't have to know. Oh, you mean lately? Well, see, yeah, that's why we just don't do it ahead of time. It allows a little margin for error. Pretty similar, not exactly, a little bit different. Some of the little check boxes are different. For some reason, there's more language up here. I think it talks about whether you can sell a mobile home or not. It's a Jedi mind wipe. You don't need to know that. Just sell it. Worry about it later. All right, now for all of you zip sellers.
So even though it is a manufactured home, that has to be signed only if it is in a park that's, you're not owning the
Every
land.
time.
You don't own the land.
Every time. Manufactured home
Uh-huh.
is a manufactured home. Manufactured home means that form every time. That's just easier. I don't care if it's on land, in a park, being towed by a boat. That's what you need. Okay, how does that even work?
So you need
Can you
both
do
then,
that?
yeah, okay.
Pardon?
So the what is it, the transfer disclosure thing?
TDS?
Yeah, okay, so you need the three of them.
No.
No,
One or the other. Yeah, right. Good
Yeah.
point, right?
so,
This has been taken to the top. We just did this about 2 months ago. Really, which one of those am I? I got a real property manufactured home, and they don't match.
okay.
The TDSs don't match. I probably need a real property TDS because I've got other questions and stuff on there. But the easiest answer to that thing was, and they're, when are they doing that? Right now. They just changed the mobile home advisory, and what's the date on this? Hang on, don't go anywhere. 11/10. Okay, you're going to see a 12/17 manufactured home transfer disclosure statement should be coming out like even as we speak, that handles that. Excellent question, better than you thought it was. Which one do we use? Not both, one or the other.
Okay, so one of the
So if you use a real estate transfer disclosure statement for a manufactured home on land that's been affixed to the land and has become real property, how? How do we know it
the permanent foundation.
433, it's got a recorded 433.
433A certification.
You're late, go back to sleep.
Maybe there's a lag. You're like on Mars.
There's a sound
He's like yelling, I'm out of potatoes.
bite. You can't
Stay
hear
out
the
of
Like tomorrow, he goes, I'm out of potatoes. Oh, sorry, dude. Was that yesterday? Good job. Yeah, 433A is a recorded form that says, hey, everybody knows, not just because the seller goes, it's on a permanent foundation. Half the time, that's bull. I'm just saying. Can't tell you how many times on a permanent foundation hasn't fallen over, has it? I'd call that permanent. Sorry, Mr. Seller, we actually need it removed from where? Who?
Tax, assessor office?
Right, move to. We need to go to the county tax assessor. We need to remove from whose roles? HCD's roles. Just like DMV takes care of cars, good one. Star in the mail. HCD takes care of manufactured and mobile homes. And there is a codified difference between manufactured and mobile homes. So we just use the terms interchangeably, I think. It's a mobile home, sure it is. Right? No, that's a manufacturer. Okay, Alan Brown, sorry, wherever you are. So I think the easiest way is if it's a manufactured home, just use that, even if it's on its own land. Now, I'm hoping that 12/17 version of this took care of that because Neil Kalin promised me it would. Right? Isn't that what happened? Remember that? We were right in the middle of that. I don't remember why. About 2 months ago, we had this talk with CAR Legal. They go like, okay, just like you said, which is it? I've got a real property manufactured home. I've always used the manufactured home TDS no matter what. And they said, like attorneys always do, they go, that's a good point. I just need an answer.
You're not getting one, yeah.
It's like, well, don't start with well. start with when, and then I'll believe you. So yeah, we kind of stumped into redoing the form. You're welcome. All right, that takes care of that pretty much. I mean, that's when you have to fill one of those out. It's in English, you'll be fine. I think the one thing it's missing is, yeah, this is the old format. Bottom of page 2, the seller's signature, right? Where it belongs, bottom of the page, not like the real estate transfer disclosure statement where you have top of page 3.
On this one, they can get all the check boxes lined up and not on the
I know.
PDFs.
I don't know if that's my software or what it is. If you print it, I don't even know what happens. I'm not, I have kind of an engineer's brain, but it's incredibly limited. Just, all right. The aforementioned and famous and mostly improperly used or forgotten exempt seller disclosure. One example, can you give me one example? No, of an exempt seller.
A trust.
Some trusts,
Probate,
right? Probate, yeah, there you go.
new homes,
Pardon?
new homes.
Yeah, you know what? New homes, when the sale includes a public report, a state of California real estate commissioner's final public report is a thing you have to do when you do new subdivisions. So you saw those, right? Every buyer has to sign a receipt for public report. The public report is like the most useless document I've ever seen in my life, but stated, and it says like 150 miles from this house, there was a theme. Like, so? Like, what does it have to do with anything? And it's like, and you have fire and police protection. Thanks for pointing that out. It's the stupidest report ever. But it replaces the transfer disclosure statement in a sale where a commissioner's final public report is included. Which time do I have? Yeah, I'll give you another minute on that. Anytime that a builder builds a house in a new subdivision, there's going to be a commissioner's final public report. We call it the white paper that goes with that sale. Even if it takes 5 years for the builder to sell that house, it doesn't have to be like only with a brand new house. If the builder owns all the houses in the tract because they're building them all and they own them and they're making it all happen, and they still own it 5 years down the road and they sell it, that house hasn't changed hands. It hasn't deeded out of that subdivision yet. So even 5 years down the road, you would have to give them the public report. And I can't remember right now how long they're good for. I think it might be 5 years. You might have to update it if you wait longer than that. So that's in that kind of a instance, then they have an exempt seller. And you would use this one and the public report. Great form because it's how many pages?
Did you finish Noah's question? Or
Did
answer?
you ask me a question though?
We answered trust and you said sometimes. then
Some
you
trusts, yeah. Well, I was looking for one more exempt seller.
Foreclosure?
Foreclosure, you had an REO seller, a seller that came into the property by foreclosing, not a guy that went to the courthouse steps and bought it. He didn't foreclose, he just went to the sale and bought it. He is not exempt. I can't tell you how many times we actually had the DRE in the office trying to explain that to someone. You guys had to do a TDS and everything. Like, no, we didn't. We got it at foreclosure. No, you didn't. You bought it from the trustee. You did not foreclose. If you foreclose or take a house back with a deed in lieu of foreclosure, you're the foreclosing party. You were the lender and you kicked them out. You're an exempt seller.
All right,
Make sense?
no, because I got one right now. I just went in escrow yesterday. My seller, it's not in probate. He's the owner. His stepsister is living in it and has for 2 years, was gonna buy it, was not able to. He is evicted.
So she's out.
She's out. He's
I mean, she's not on title or anything. She's basically not part of this deal at all.
Was early on, but now she's off. He's got full rights to sign. It's gone through court, 2-year battle. He's got it. It's now for sale, and I'm in escrow with my seller on it, or with my buyer. Is he exempt? He's never lived in it. It was his
Does the
dad.
TDS say the seller is or is not living in the property? Says, yep, either way, right? Yep. Now so with what I've heard so far, you have no exemption. You got to do everything. He didn't foreclose on her. He didn't loan her money and take the house back, so he's not not a seller in due course due to a foreclosure action, right?
Correct.
Yep.
She was attempting to buy him out of the, whatever the agreement was between.
And they actually had her on title for a while. Who's this guy's attorney? Me?
This is one of David's, yeah.
Now, everybody thinks they know stuff. You guys know stuff. That's where sometimes it sucks to be us. You got to go in and explain to people. Sometimes they don't appreciate it.
Right. So he's not exempt, even though he's never lived in it. He got it.
Well, now you got to go to Noah's question. Is he a trust?
Yes, he is a trust.
What kind of a trust?
Bob Dobry, so it's the Dobry Family Trust.
Is it revocable or irrevocable?
Don't know.
And he's the only trustee?
Yes.
You don't have an exemption, yeah. Now, where did I get that? What form did I almost memorize? Probably had to go back and check. To get that.
Trust
Trust advisory, yeah. Paragraph
Fill that
1
out.
says right in there.
Okay.
Says right in there, whether it's, the sole trustee of a revocable trust who has owned the house, which he did probably before he put it in his trust, maybe, I don't know, or has lived there in the past year is not exempt. So if he's
not lived there.
ever,
It was his dad's. His dad, her mom, step child
Right.
situation.
so is he a successor trustee for you need legal help. Is he a successor trustee for the tax trust? Yeah, so Linda can look at your deed and help you with that. Okay, and moving on.
Volunteer.
All
So
right,
next
thanks,
Thursday-
Linda, appreciate it.
Next Thursday, practice with that transaction.
Appointment with Linda,
It's like,
yeah.
we're gonna do templates with this one over here. Then you can do that, right? Because you can save a transaction as a template. Do you need a trust listing template? Just save that transaction as a template, take everybody's name out of it, you have a template.
Stop telling people to do that. Just make a template, for God's sake.
Or
That's what we're gonna have.
make a template for God's sake.
We're gonna have a template.
Dirty
for
ape.
it.
Yeah, I know. Because then people always go in and forget to keep their dates and their stuff.
Oops, what happened? Stop it. Half arms.
We learn from our transactions. You just don't wanna learn the hard way. You just don't wanna learn the hard way.
So here's one that never happens, even though it's in the contract, right? Vacant land. We don't have very many disclosures of vacant land because it's not improved. It's not residential property improved with 1 to 4 dwelling units. It's not improved. That's basically a commercial deal. That's a non-residential deal. You guys do commercial real estate. Every time you sell dirt with nothing on it, that's a commercial deal. You are now a commercial agent. Congratulations. Go renegotiate. Hey, I just got a raise. I just wanted you to know. So the vacant land purchase agreement, I can't remember if vacant land listing agreement says anything about it or not. So the vacant land purchase agreement talks about the seller vacant land questionnaire, and there it is. And it's kind of similar stuff. A few questions answered. Looks a little bit like the SPQ. Used to be 1 page back in the days of the 1-page forms. The only reason we got a 4th page is so that everyone could sign. Like, can't you just squish it in? Like, we got room. Damn it. Okay, so that's just so you know. So vacant land, there is a disclosure. I'm not going there. Okay. Which ones am I going to leave in and take out and do? So we'll get to that in a minute. We'll do this. My SPQ, let's look at that for just a second. So just so you know, I think it's the last line. You're gonna have to go look for it because I can't remember where the hell it is. That's the SPQ's one where it talks about the do you or do you not, kind of confusing language, have low flow toilets and stuff. So watch out for that one. Where's your avid right there? Here's the all-powerful avid. Okay, and it says right on there, right on page 1 of the avid, which is the thing you have to do. Whether you're the listing agent or the buyer's agent, And whether you have an exempt seller or not, there isn't an exemption in the world. There's one, and now I can't remember what the hell it is. There's one exemption, it might be new construction, for an agent's avid. Every other time you're ever in a residential 1-to-4 transaction, you have to do your avid. I don't care which side you're on. I don't care if the seller's exempt. REOs, they created this, they grandfathered to this form in the REO days of the late 80s, early 90s. Because we didn't have an exemption, they had to gut the TDS and make an agent disclosure form. And all it was page 3 of the TDS with a bigger box. And then they finally got to this thing, which is much better. And it talks a little bit about there, it says why we're doing it. California law requires, with limited exceptions, one that I know of, the real estate broker or salesperson, collectively agent, conduct a reasonably competent, diligent visual inspection, blah, blah, blah. And it talks about all the stuff that we're not gonna do, which is kind of helpful. California law does not require the agent to inspect areas not reasonably normally accessible, areas off-site of the property, public records or permits. None of that is on your plate as the inspecting entity. We don't get on the roof. We don't climb ladders. We don't blah, 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 blah. What's the old thing from, if you ever get to see David Compton, when you've seen him once, you've seen his whole shtick. But he does a good job with this stuff. And in his disclosure class, he teaches the tool or tuxedo rule. He goes, if you have to use a tool or you're going to ruin your tuxedo, you're over your pay grade. Stop right there. And everybody certainly immediately imagined all the women in the meeting in tuxedos. That's weird. Isn't that a great form? It's like, where do you start? Entry, where do you go next? Living room, dining room, kitchen, other room, like there's another room. It's important to fill in this recital part of your 5 to 11 already. Who's doing the inspection? Who was there? What time of day? Was it? It's a test, right? Was it sunny or like, come on, were you there? Come on, because I want to check my phone. No, you weren't even there.
So do you, just.
This one?
Yeah, when you're adding on the edit there where you were right now, what is it that you're just inspecting, checking to see if something's wrong with the house or something's good with the house? Like the entrance, the living room, you're pointing out defects or you're pointing out?
You want to make sure that you actually put your eyeballs on the property.
Yep.
And the reason for that is like probably the REOs. And I'm just assuming that people were transactions were going back. The agent didn't even go in the house.
Yeah, it was before
and then they
that.
find something out that's wrong with the house, and the lawyers want to know who's liable.
Who's got deep pockets?
Yeah, who's got
who
deep
in this deal
pockets,
has E&O insurance?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So then they go after agent, broker, and then follow the trail.
So where that came from was Easton versus Strasburger, the thing that created the TDS and the agent's diligent visual inspection, 1987. We've been at it ever since. We finally have a decent form. So it says right in there where, in case you're wondering, what are my obligations or the client is, right there. California requires blah, 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 conducted
reasonable,
diligent, reasonably comes like a half-ass, like what? Reasonably and normally accessible areas, certain properties offered for sale, and disclose to the prospective purchaser material facts affecting the value or desirability of that property that the inspection reveals. You're telling them what's wrong. You don't have to tell them what's right.
Okay.
You're pointing out material facts that will affect the value or desirability of the property. Anything that would make a buyer feel weird about buying it, that's what goes on. So it doesn't have any doors. Yeah, that might be weird.
Yeah.
Especially if they didn't know. Like, it's a surprise. What? You were there yesterday. Well, that's right. We didn't.
Yeah, because
Broken windows, crap like that.
seen stuff and it says, it's got, laminate.
So they're selling? Yeah, they're gonna talk the house up.
But they're putting the good things, not the bad things. And I'm thinking, well, if it's a new house, it's good. You're not putting pretty much anything because you're seeing that everything's okay. So you just put nothing to know.
Yeah, write something in there anyway. Nothing to report.
Besides the tuxedo and tool, the other thing is don't use descriptive words like large.
Yeah, there is a monster hole in the garage.
Ginormous.
There is a hole. in the garage.
Yeah.
Looks like mold.
Or like there's mold in the ceiling, right? There's
A
never mold
black
on the ceiling, there's a
substance.
discoloration.
You don't say mold. Yeah, you just brought in hazmat.
Don't be an expert. Yeah, let somebody else bring it.
Exactly. They wanna look, you just,
Right. You're just like a person kind of. And it says right on page 1, it's like, I'm not an inspector, a real estate. It's like, are you kidding? Why am I even here?
Break it before, like, I'm curious, saying it's part of your disclosure, if you're supposed to touch for your teams.
right. Bob can make you an example of one of his. He did that for me when I first came on.
Yes, let's make this.
Yeah, he fills out everything and it's very, it's simple, but it explains and you fit everything, so they know you went through that house. And then that covers you, which then covers them, us, everybody involved. So, CYA, that's what
right,
it
cover
is.
your assets. Statewide buyer and seller advisor, we fought that one too because it was 10 pages. Now it's 12. Now we like it. Go figure. So 2 things about this form. One is generally all the disclosure laws are, like I was saying, disclose this unless otherwise disclosed. Here's 57 paragraphs of stuff that you may not have thought of, Mr. Seller. For crying out loud, get this in the freaking deal. I can't tell you how many offers they get without these. And they get one right back. It's attached to the account.
Nuclear power plant.
Is that on here?
Not in there. Not on the.
Probably in your local. It's
Yeah.
probably not on here. This is statewide. I'd have to control F and look in the whole thing. By now it might be. I used to kind of know what was on here, like 10 versions
There might be a
ago.
wildfire nearby. Like in Ventura right now. Holy crap.
David's law, there could be.
Yeah.
Yep, that's in here, right there, Megan's law, death on the property, electronic signatures. Now what it does is it says like, hey, oh, look at that stuff.
But now you
Hey,
should
watch out for that
know
crap.
death on the property because it has to be.
Well, it says here, like, don't, hey, don't forget there may have been a death on the property. That's what this thing says. Somebody find out if there's been a death, somebody find out this. So while you're thinking about all these things, while you're doing your disclosure, think about all these things. And there's, what is
You're
it
gonna
now?
have to come to the
57 paragraphs.
Templates workshop and update your templates.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's why we're coming. When is it? Wednesday at 12. Next Wednesday. 12.
It's Thursday. probably.
Thursday, okay. Well, you're gonna have my computer working through it, so it's all good. Thank you. You can use me as a guinea.
Yeah, you won't know if
Yeah,
you're right.
just
or
put it
wrong.
in
Billy goat. I'll be the Billy goat. You can use my computer.
You say it's what it is, don't you?
On the disclosures there where it says, all that stuff, some stuff is in the San Luis Obispo County and some stuff is in the Santa Barbara County.
Mhm.
And you combine both, or if you're doing a deal in the San Luis Obispo County, it only pertains to this and not nearby, being that it is close by the Santa Barbara County.
Pay for the
So
local disclosures?
Yeah, like the local disclosure.
you only got
like
one,
the-
right?
The colony, Miss Colony, because they added stuff like that.
Well, CAR didn't. I mean, you guys got your own form. I have no idea what's on it.
Yeah.
I've got a
We
clue.
can get our local, yeah.
So.
Our local one discloses stuff about Santa Maria and Slope.
Because it came from our local.
Well, we have. two
Wow,
different
you read
ones.
it.
So
Way to
I
go.
have one for Santa Maria that I use. I don't attach this,
Okay, no, that's what I wanted to
because that's Santa Barbara County.
Right.
Good, no penalty for doing it.
Yeah. You can't ever over-inform.
Yeah, when in doubt, disclose, right?
Yeah.
So we do have some local disclosures, right? Santa Maria, as far as I know, still doesn't have any. We're still not doing enough business down there to even know. But in San Luis Obispo County, when you're anywhere on the Napomo Mesa, which is all the way from the bluff edge at Osa Flaco to the Santa Maria River to Los Barros Road
Yeah.
to past Trilogy, is all part of the Napomo Water Conservation Area. And there's a disclosure that goes with that, and there's some obligations that go with it. I've always sent the disclosure, even if they're exempt, because the Napomo Mesa Water Conservation Area disclosure talks about drought.
Right.
What could it hurt? Local option right to farm, that's San Luis Obispo County has a local right to farm. State of California has a right to farm. They are not the same. I can't tell you how much pushback I get on that local right to farm. It's in the NHD. No, it isn't. The state of California right to farm is in the NHD, not the San Luis Obispo County. We are a right to farm county. Two different disclosures. Both of them have to be in when?
7 days.
In When the property's in what area? Sorry, I didn't.
San Luis
San Luis
Obispo.
Obispo.
San
County.
Luis Obispo County, right? Everything in the whole county?
Just the rural areas.
Just some rural areas, only the stuff in the unincorporated San Luis Obispo County. So the entire town of Oceana, the entire town of Napoleon. And everywhere else that doesn't have a town. As long as it's not an incorporated city, the right to farm goes with it. All right, cool. That's really almost all I wanted to do today. We got really, really close because the other stuff we've kind of talked about, like the RCSD, I beat that up every time we do contracts. What else is there that I really, really wish you had such a handle? Oh, we did that last time, right? Does everybody remember where to get the, I guess there's two questions about that. When do we use it? And where do you get it? Am I in the right place? Now, can I remember that? Can you just like go over there? So there's the combined hazards book, which has the lead paint and all that junk in it. I forgot that. So let's go back a little bit. Lead-based paint is a federally mandated disclosure. There aren't ever any exemptions from lead-based paint disclosure, except what? There's a cutoff.
Before 1978.
1978. Yeah, stuff built on or before. Can't remember what month. So let's just say 78. I think it's built before 78. You have to do there's a federally mandated disclosure. That's about the only one we got in there that's for lead-based paint. And there's a booklet that you have to give, protect your family from lead. We used to have 5 books, and they finally combined them into one some time back that you get them from NHD companies and stuff. But the combined hazards book, the earthquake report, and all that stuff is actually in zip forms. Does everybody remember where?
In the library.
In the library. Which library?
Noah? EPUBs.
EPUBs.
I don't remember which library.
One of those.
One of the ones. You hit library, come up, EPUB.
Okay, there you go. Residential environmental hazards, blah, blah, blah. You can get the entire book.
I just pull up library and find it.
Earthquake report, yeah. If you
Remember
you
EPUB.
just click that right there. It's like, you'll remember. That's the dumbest name, EPUB-D. California EPUBs dues. Like, I don't understand why
I'm
it's
trying to stay out of the library.
It shows.
I didn't go in high school, I didn't go to college, nothing. I'm not going to the library now.
You can't make me.
That's
I cut more high school than you did. I could, except make it hurt. Hooligan. So, and that takes care of me. Did that take care of you? How do y'all feel about that? Any questions? Any more questions? Time's up. No more questions.
Bueller, anyone?
Anybody? No? Yes? You okay?
Thank you, Gary. That was good.
All right. You're
Okay,
welcome.
what did he say? You said, job, Gary, you did a great job. Thanks, computer boy.
Okay.
Sound like
Thanks,
a
Gary.
sound like a robot on. Thank you, robot.
Thank you all for attending. Be careful out there.
Good.
Stop the recording.
Not yet. I'm still signing out. I'll figure it out. Hey, we're about to shut the recording off, just so you know, man. Sign out. Sign up.
Take off the lights off. I'll get them in.
Gonna end the meeting. Bye, everybody. Thanks for hanging around. Bye, kids. Goodbye.